So it's been a while since I did my last fan fiction reading. A couple years actually, but we have time now, so I think I'll do another one if this one turns out well. Today's fan fiction. We have a fairly special one called Post-Soviet Equestria, A Place to Behold, by Russian Bank Teller. The worst type of person alive, a bank teller. Also, not a brony. The tags are MLPFIM, Dark, Human, Twilight, Main 6, and Flurry Heart. In 1991, the USSR collapsed, and many of the former Soviet Socialist republics succeeded. I think he means seceded, but the words are similar enough that I'll give him a pass. One of those former Soviet Socialist republics is Equestria. Now Twilight and the rest of the Main Six, after being released from a gulag by the new government, have to tread lightly through the difficult rigors of post-Soviet Equestria, a place to behold. The story has been, unfortunately, been cancelled, with only 1,600 words on it, but who knows, maybe we'll get some enjoyment out of it. Maybe you will enjoy it so much that you will lobby to actually pick it back up again. He was last seen online about 2 hours ago, meaning despite not being a brony, he has been active on this brony fanfiction website for nearly 3 years now, so let's go ahead and get started. And since I haven't had dinner tonight, reading fan fiction while you're eating food is usually a bad idea. But but I'm fucking hungry. My meal from the capitalist fast food restaurant, since it's a post-Soviet story, there is actually food now. Alright, the prologue, called the History of Equestria, 1989 through 2007, written in 2017. Alright, let's go ahead and read this thing. Author's note. Editors needed. PM if interested. This is my first story, so all constructive criticism is welcome. FYI, and it's censored. Celestia, Luna, and Discord are all dead. Ponies cannot go to the human world, but humans can go to the pony world and come back. Also, everyone speaks Russian. Gotcha. Play this song while you read. And it's to YouTube. Let's see what's on YouTube. Waiting for it to load though. Wow, the internet is really bad today. Just getting ready, getting the food ready. The capitalist bourgeoisie meal. Got some chicken tenders from KFC. I'm getting the butter and honey, the buttery spread and honey sauce for the biscuit ready right now. Delicious soybean oil. Alright. For some reason, like just this year, when I went over to the restaurant, for some reason they started serving French fries with everything. Now they used to have potato wedges for a long time, but for some strange reason they just got rid of the potato wedges, which I really liked, and just replaced them with fries. Which I mean, I guess the fries are okay. I was kind of worried they might just be like really cheaply made bad fries. I mean, not all fries are created equal. But these are actually pretty good, in my humble opinion. But no, you probably came here to listen to me read a story instead of eating food. So let's get started. Let us get started with reading the story. Racism was a problem that plagued Equestria ever since the human takeover. The humans who moved to Equestria naturally believed themselves superior because they destroyed the Equestrian military in the War of 1968. The Equestrians, however, believed they were superior because they could fly and do magic. All of this led to much distrust and occasionally small skirmishes between human and equestrian superiority groups. When the small-scale revolts started to happen around late 1989, everything got worse, and with constant street battles and bombings, with the collapse of the USSR and Equestria declaring independence, asterisk. As a side note, Equestria joined the CIS, placing them firmly in the Russians' camp. The CIS meaning the Commonwealth of Independent States, not the Confederacy of Independent Systems, that's from Star Wars. The Commonwealth of Independent States, regional intergovernmental organization focused on cooperation on political, economic, environmental, humanitarian, cultural, and other issues in a number of former Soviet republics. Yeah, Russian sphere of influence. Anyway, the situation got even more dire. The new government had to deal with not just street battles and bombings, but now gerrymandering. Gee, I thought that was only an American thing. And political lobbying, as each side wanted to exploit the democratic government to gain an advantage over the other. By 1992, the government was dealing with full-scale civil war when the neo-Nazi Ponies for a Pure Equestria, PPE, elected a president and a majority in the Duma. Oh, is this just like a ponification of the Yugoslav Civil War? The humans, who mostly lived in Stalingrad, why is it like... What is it with like bronies and Stalingrad? I mean, I know it's a fucking pun, but you just hear it everywhere in the fandom. When like most people in the West only really know about Stalingrad because of or Volgograd, because of like the one battle that happened there during World War II. That's all that most people in the West know about it. I mean, it's not really that creative of a pun, and yet you hear it everywhere within this fandom. Even like Fallout Equestria, I think, had like a mention of Stalingrad. And why is there a Stalingrad when Equestria is clearly just supposed to be like pony Yugoslavia? Never mind. I'm just gonna make my head hurt if I try to explain it. Anyway, the humans who mostly lived in Stalingrad declared a new equestrian state called the Federal Republic of the State of Equestria, FRSE, and promptly attempted to storm something I can't read, which was renamed, previously being Canterlot. The Russians backed the FRSE and NATO backed the PPE. How many acronyms are we going to have in this? The war continued for at least a year before the Russians started to commit troops disguised as militiamen. Hey, you know, I guess this could also represent, like, maybe Equestria is supposed to be Ukraine? I don't know. It could be pretty much anywhere. The Russians tipped the balance in the FRSE's favor with the additional boost of manpower and equipment. The FRSE eventually won in 1999, with the PPE not being able to support the front line when Spetsnaz assassinated the new princess and the top generals, along with destroying the renovated royal palace, which was formerly the building the Duma resided in. Yeah, the post-Soviet Eastern Bloc, like in the 90s, was just like a complete mess, with even like in Russia, you had like the president ordering the army to shell the Duma building because they weren't doing what he wanted to. And NATO just kind of let him do it and didn't condemn him. And what's with the new, like, princess thing? It never mentioned the princess being anywhere. It said that Celestia and Luna are dead, and Twilight's in the gulag. Cadence, it said nothing about her, but we could presume she's either dead or in the gulag too. It said there was a president, but where the hell is... I don't know. Okay, so the Spetsnaz assassinated the new princess and the top generals along with destroying the Royal Palace Duma building. At the turn of the century, asterisk, side note, equestrian nuclear weapons were handed back to Russia due to a lack of launch codes and a promise of no territorial claims, like Ukraine and the only post-Soviet powers that had nuclear weapons. Okay, so I guess this is Ukraine. Okay, because when I first pre-read this, I thought they were talking about, like, Yugoslavia or something. Maybe it's a mishmash of different post-Soviet states, but at the same time, or Yugoslavia wasn't Soviet. I mean, technically, they split with the Soviets back in, like, the 60s or the 40s or whenever. But, I mean, it's still the same, like, Eastern Bloc post-communist states being chaotic and shit. I don't fucking know. If Equestria is supposed to represent a mishmash of different countries, then that would actually be kind of clever. At the turn of the century, Equestria was in a dire state, with most of the country destroyed by the Civil War. The Equestrian KGB roamed the streets of every town looking for dissent and making sure no pony or person was questioned the government. However, Equestria slowly rebuilt with the help of a main six recently released from an FRSE, formerly Soviet gulag. In 2001, an insurgent group called the Equestrian Free Army, EQFA, began. It started out as a small group of ponies unhappy with the dictatorship and the harsh treatment of non-humans. The group quickly started to gain members. The group started to bomb KGB field offices and government buildings. The KGB began cracking down by executing anyone suspected of collaboration. NATO then began to fund and supply the EQFA, who took over Appaloosa and declared it liberated. It was swiftly recaptured. Why the hell, like, did they recommend a song from a communist music playlist when this is a post-Soviet Equestria? You know, I'm gonna have to go back up and reread some stuff to try to get a picture of what exactly is going on here. And in the meantime, I'll just consume a bit of food, because again, I didn't have dinner today, and it's already almost 9 o'clock. Okay, alright. After a bit of delicious chicken, brain food, I can now understand what's going on. So, neo-Nazi ponies elected a president and a majority in the Duma, but then the humans, who are probably Russians, made their own country and stormed Canterlot, and Russian troops helped them win the Civil War. And now there's this new insurgency of ponies. Alright, by 2002, the EQFA was declared a terrorist group by every country in the CIS. The FRSE declared martial law and sent in a newly formed militia. The militia, composed entirely of humans, began to conduct mass executions, which only led to the EQFA growing in strength and an influx of new members. As the FRSE began to get more desperate, Russia began to demand territory, including a large border town. When the FRSE refused, Russian troops occupied the land. Why is Russia backstabbing one of its own allies / puppet states Oh well. In January, 3 large protests broke around the country, mostly in the capital of Stalingrad. The ponies were calling for democracy and civil rights for the ponies. The FRSE cracked down, deploying the military around the country. The main 6 were placed on house arrest for participating in a protest. You know, as a story that's supposed to be about, based on My Little Pony, the main characters of MLP really don't have much to do with this, especially since a lot of them are just stated to have been killed, and the main 6, they're just footnotes. They're just footnotes in this story. It's mostly just a lecture about politics. Maybe, and then again, I mean, this is a prologue, so I guess I'll let it slide for now and see if they get a bigger role later in the future. As the situation deteriorated, Russian troops began to occupy more land. Then, on the day of August 20th, 2003, the president of the FRSE was assassinated. The FRSE officially dissolved in December. Wow, I mean, that must have been a very fragile country if simply assassinating the president could get rid of it. I mean, don't have vice presidents and shit. The FRSE officially dissolved in December. A new democratic government called the Republic of Equestria, ROE, a new, democratic, government formed called the Republic of Equestria in February of 2004. The ROE promptly fell into chaos, capitalized, maybe discord is alive still. A small power struggle occurred until the Russian Spetsnaz stormed the capital and made Equestria a Russian puppet state called the Equestrian Federation on January 1st, 2005. Wow, that was a very shortly lived government. The EF cedes Manhattan and the surrounding area to the Russian Federation in October. 1 month later, in November, the EF joined the UN. In January 2006, the main 6 were officially released from under house arrest. Okay, finally they actually do something. They were given their old homes back after living in an apartment building. Twilight Sparkle formed a new political party that wanted to restore the monarchy. They quickly gained popularity and became the 3rd largest party after the Russian-backed United Equestria and the Communist Party of Equestria. In July, Twilight became the vice chairman pony of the State Duma, the first pony in the position of vice chairman. Just 4 days after Twilight became vice chairman, her monarchist party surpassed the Communist Party in terms of popularity. The other 5 of the main 6, except Pinkie Pie, joined/created outer parties or stayed out of politics. Are you telling me that Pinkie did not form or join a party? She's the party pony. What kind of... Never mind. Fluttershy joins the Green Party and became their presidential ticket, constantly speaking out against industrialization and the disregard for nature. Okay, I could see her doing that. Rarity abstained from politics. Applejack joined United Equestria, seeing it as the only party that actually did anything to help ponies. Rainbow Dash also abstained from politics. I'm kind of surprised that she might do that, but okay. But slightly dabbled in the Communist Party simply to compete with Applejack. Rainbow Dash also founded the Wonderbolts Reborn, a government-sponsored stunt flying group that participated in parades and other events. By 2007, everything was looking up for Equestria. The economy stabilized, leading to an economic boom that's never seen before in Equestria. Oh, interesting. And also, okay. I'm reading ahead there. Earth ponies became the ruling class due to them controlling Equestria's main export, agriculture. Due to the Earth ponies' knack for farming in away with nature, Equestria became a major supplier of agricultural products across the globe. Ever since 1970, when Equestria started exporting agriculture, equestrian apples were the most widely craved fruit in the Eastern Bloc. When they started to go to the rest of the world in 1992, they were very, very popular, especially in the United States. Interesting. Equestrian apples were the 19th most popular food in the U.S. in 2007. '19th. That's very specific. One Earth pony became the 9th richest person in the world with a net worth of $24.7 billion US. Equestria became quite prosperous until the Great Recession of December 2007 to 2009. I totally called it. And that's the end of the first chapter. One of the comments, a TPF2 fan, says, I think the idea is pretty interesting, but I'm not liking this info dumping. I agree, it's a big info dump. It's more of a history lecture. It probably could have been condensed, hence editors needed in the author's note. And maybe some of this could have been come through dialogue instead of just a plain info dump. Oh, it's already been 33 minutes. Okay. I'm going to stop recording and take a very short break, and then I'll get back with chapter 1. Alright, chapter 1. But just before we do chapter 1, before we begin the first chapter, I just want to apologize for some of the abysmal audio quality of the previous section. During the break, I was... I reviewed some of the audio, and I'm not sure why my voice just kind of gets really deep at certain points. I'm guessing maybe I was like leaning too close into the microwave, like microphone like this, and that was probably a result of that. It sounds deep as if it was like slow motion or something. I'll try to avoid doing that. Anyway, so, chapter 1. Chapter 1 is actually titled Interim. Human and Pony discover the elements of harmony and repossession of the Griffin lands. And it's divided into 2 parts. This chapter is really short compared to the last one. Part 1. Mikhail Petrov was a historian fascinated by Equestria before the War of 1968. He was most interested in the elements of harmony and how they turned Equestria's foes to stone or banished them to hell. His companion, Adeladia Solokov, who was a pony, but they took on human names because the humans found their old names hilarious and stupid, was just as interested in old equestrian history and the elements of harmony. She was born to a family that told her of old Equestria, and greatly valued the black and white, evil or good philosophy that old Equestria was based upon. Isn't Marxism based on black and white, evil or good philosophy too? Anyway, when a letter showed up at Mikhail's house with a detailed map to where the elements of harmony were from a mysterious benefactor, they just couldn't resist. Wait, did they live in the same house? Okay. His companion. Don't mind me. I'm just eating my food to rub it in the faces of the communists. Anyway, they set off with all the supplies they could carry, a gun and a video camera. They went to the location on the map, which was an abandoned cottage near the Everfree Forest and on the outskirts of Ponyville, that seems to have... Is it Fluttershy's? That seems to have been inhabited by some kind of potion brewer long ago. Oh, okay, Zakora's. It's on the outskirts of Ponyville, near the Everfree Forest, so I'm guessing a lot of deforestation must have occurred. Anyway, they discovered a hatch which led them to a cave. Or, in the cave, there was a message that said, "Dear bearers of the elements of harmony. Dear bearers of the elements of harmony. In this cave is the elements of harmony, which I promised to protect from the evil creatures currently rampaging through Equestria while I am writing this letter. Hopefully, you and the Royal Guard were able to drive them off. Nevertheless, in the cave are the elements of harmony. Just enter the password and they will be yours again. Sincerely, illegible signature." Now it says illegible signature in brackets, but I mean it would make sense if there was a pony whose name was illegible signature, and they were like a doctor of some sort. I'm not sure why a physician would be, what a physician would be doing with the elements of harmony. I don't know, maybe they're a doctor of philosophy. Well, that's the end of part 1. Very short. Part 2 is also short. Part 2. Flurry Heart. Okay, maybe Flurry Heart was that one. Flurry Heart was the last alicorn. Or is Twilight not an alicorn? Or was Twilight de-alicornified in this chapter by the forces of equalness? I don't know. Flurry Heart was the last alicorn. She was taken care of by the last crystal ponies in an underground bunker constructed beneath the radioactive wasteland of the Crystal Empire. What about Twilight, you may ask? Yes, I do ask. Well, let's just say her horn was removed in an incident involving a horny Russian guard, combat knife, and starving Twilight who would do anything for more food. Interesting. So she's... I mean, we have, like, alicorn Twilight. We have unicorn Twilight. We've had Earth... Believe it or not, we've actually had Earth Pony Twilight in the show before. But now, we get Pegasus Twilight. I mean... Okay. By 2007, she was devising a plan to conquer the Griffin lands. Why? Which were inhabited by a few Cossacks, whatever was left of the Griffin population, and more ponies than there should be. Yes, there should be little to no ponies in the Griffin lands. We aren't, like, multicultural or diverse like those degenerate Westerners. We have ethno-states here in Soviet Equestria. She was going to lead the remaining crystal ponies, about 179-ish. You could have just said 180-ish. But you put exactly 179-ish ponies, so I'm assuming there's about exactly 179, and the ponies to lead a revolt. She declared a reborn Crystal Empire in mid-2008, and led the Crystal Ponies and anyone who would join her to reconquer the Griffin lands. Oh, mid-2008, is this supposed to be like an hour? Is this like a ponification of that, like, the South Ossetia border crisis that went on back then? Because I remember, I actually remember that pretty clearly, because, like, it somewhat interrupted the Olympic, like, it happened, like, right around the time of the Olympics. Anyway, her meager force was surprisingly well armed, due to the whole NATO funding equestrian freedom fighter thing and being a friend of the leader of one such group. Her force was armed with AKMs, RPGs, M16A4s, Makarovs, a bunch of technicals, 10 BMP-1s, 1 stolen T-90, and about 5 T-80 BVs. They were quickly advancing to the capital of the small little Cossack enclave. They encountered little to no resistance and were met by cheers and love when they liberated, in quotation marks, towns, enlisting more members and setting up small little city governments. Now, if they were met by with cheers and love, then you wouldn't need to put liberate in quotation marks. unless you're just evil and think that shoes and love are bad. Anyway, this is, and then there's like a dashed line, and at the bottom, this is where the story begins. With Fleury-Heart poised to take over the small Cossack enclave, Twilight's monarchist party quickly gaining strength and the elements of harmony about to be discovered by a human historian and pony companion while searching for them in the caves near Ponyville. Period. The end. That's the last of it. That's the end of the chapter, and there are no more chapters. Let's read the comments to see if we can find any information about that. Corn, a cultural Marxist member of the Frankfurt School, says the USSR invading Equestria is pretty... Russian bank teller asked, what's with all the dislikes? And Corn says, the USSR invading Equestria is pretty controversial. The Russian bank teller says, is it? I mean, yeah. Like, they didn't even fucking explain why the USSR invaded Equestria in the first place. They just said it happened. That, in 1968, the USSR just invaded Equestria. I mean, there was Soviet military action in 68, but I think that was to, like, crush a revolt in Czechoslovakia. But here it's just like they're invading some random country, and like they don't even really explain why. Even if the reason is, we're going to invade the country to liberate it, they could have at least said that, and because like a dumb answer like that would be a lot better than just saying nothing and just like us having the leaders assume like, the Soviet Union's invading Equestria for no reason. I mean, because not even explaining anything like that, not giving a good reason makes them sound like fucking warmongers. And that the only people who would actually be happy if the Soviet Union just fucking invaded you would be like communists. But let's see what the comments say. Corin replies, there are a lot of people on this site who think that ponies would never lose to humans and vice versa. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I don't think ponies would never lose to humans. I'm just saying they should never. I'm saying they should never lose to humans. So that they can maintain their independence and not be conquered. But Corin, the cultural Marxist, replies, there are also a lot of reactionaries and dissidents. They like to go on about genocide Olympics and whatnot. Russian bank teller replies, I see. How could the ponies win against the entire Eastern Bloc, though, especially when they have nukes that NATO and the US cannot see go off? Genocide Olympics, the fuck? Cord replies, Genocide Olympics is when someone shits on some group for committing genocide, and someone trying to defend said group accuses someone else of doing something bad as if that makes it better. The far right likes to throw it around a lot. Yeah, example, Guy 1. The Nazis attempted to commit genocide on multiple ethnic groups. That is why I think Nazis are evil. Guy 2. But the Soviet Union had Holodomor. Guy 1. How does that change the fact that the Nazi doctrine called for the extermination of multiple ethnic groups? Guy 2. It doesn't. But now that I pointed out someone else did bad things, that means when you point out I support support a system of governance that tends to lead to genocides, it doesn't mean anything, because a different system did bad stuff too. It doesn't even matter that you don't support the USSR. Pepe/Pinochet meme. And in reply to the, like, nukes, they wouldn't, but many people on this site think that the gags in the show are 100% repressive of all ponies. People see Twilight Sparkle, the strongest unicorn at the time, do some great feat and assume that's just typical stuff for everyone in the show, despite how much it shows who's struggling to do it. I think this whole comment is like misrepresenting other people's arguments. First, very quickly, I'm just going to address the whole, they see Twilight Sparkle do some great feat. I mean, yeah, that is a good and valid criticism, but and that, against overwhelming odds, your Equestria's handful of alicorns probably wouldn't be able to defeat an invading Soviet army. But that doesn't mean that other alicorns can't do things like shield spells and levitation and other things that humans wouldn't be able to do. Again, like, the reason why I dislike the idea of the USSR invading Equestria isn't because I think the ponies would win in an invasion. I just think, like, why? Why is this happening? What's the point? Why are we bringing an invasion? Why are we just having, like, humans invade Equestria? Why are we even having humans in the My Little Pony universe in the first place? When we haven't had them in the My Little Pony universe, at least not since, like, the 1980s. And second, the whole comment about the Genocide Olympics, I mean, that's like him just, like, the far right isn't even like the people who, like, they're not the people who go around, like, talking about Soviet genocide. Like, okay, first of all, yeah, like, accusing the far right, like, they're not even the group that that complains the most about Soviet genocide. That's like the center right, like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro types, which if you honestly believe, which they are not far right. I mean, this whole comment kind of just frames it as being like an either or false dichotomy, good versus bad. Like, if you are not a communist, then you must be a Nazi apologist. When like, those are not the only two political positions that exist. And people who believe, people who try to frame dialogue as if they're the only two positions that exist are not, like, they're just trying to railroad you into being pigeonholed into one of two extremes. Like, you can point out that both, like the lamestream conservative position, at least in American politics, is that like both regimes were bad, both regimes were evil, that we don't have to settle for either. We don't have to settle for either one. So this is either a deliberate misrepresentation. This is either ignorance and misunderstanding of a position, and or a deliberate framing bad faith argument. Probably both, I think. Asshat replies, I'll say the dislikes are mostly since this is a touchy subject, also not horribly new, and the writing leaves something to be desired. I'm going to upvote that comment because it's like, yeah, the writing does leave much to be desired, such as an explanation for why the Soviet Union is invading Equestria. I don't think they even necessarily explain, like, how do they even get to Equestria to begin with. I thought I remembered seeing something. Maybe it was in the description on the main page. Maybe it was something in the prologue, but there was just being something about like the Soviet Union somehow creates or acquires access to portals to Equestria that NATO doesn't necessarily have access to themselves. You know, that would be a plot hole because they will somehow support Equestria. The whole I think in my opinion, like, the whole situation, it's controversial because the whole situation's poorly explained. You have ponies, you have humans just like beating up ponies for no apparent reason. And you're trying to like shoehorn a ton of real life politics and history into something where a lot of people might think it doesn't really belong. Flamboyant asks, so, is it dead on March 5th, 2018? And Russian bank teller says no. Although I think it pretty much is dead if it's been more than a year since the last update. Dice Man says, so I have a laundry list of problems with this entire fic. 1. Writing is as dry as eating wallpaper. 2. Fails to centralize any main protagonist or group of protagonists. Yes, that is a huge problem, because usually in stories you would expect that there would be protagonists. I mean, the main 6 are presumably like the main 6 and or Flurry Heart, but we don't really know which. Neither really got very much. I mean, I guess there's a couple of different protagonists, but yeah, it's like there's no central main protagonist or group of protagonists who are who are the main viewpoint characters. It doesn't mean you can't have other characters, but usually in stories you would expect there to be specific characters who are kind of the star of the show, and especially like if they would serve as being like an audience surrogate. 3. Starts with an epilogue that tells instead of shows. 4. Fails to invoke any emotion and is more heavily pandering towards edgy and dark, without giving a humanized example of living in such a place. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, it 5. Is too short and doesn't cover enough bases. I can go on for another dozen or so points, but in short, the story lacks a protagonist pacing, proper characterization, and shifts tones far too quickly. In short, the dislikes are not because of the topic, though that didn't help, but your inability to take them to the place personally. You should have started with a pony having to deal with the day-to-day soul-crushing work, having to be a second-class citizen in a country that finds him or her expendable. Set the weather and tone to be both abusive and sad. Let this pony watch a workmate fall over dead in the quarry or something, and have him or her have to watch his corpse being dragged away, not for burial, but to be made into food or glue. You can make a fic about any topic, but you better not half-ass it. Yeah, exactly. Enver Hoxha. My dudes, these chapters were just an overview of the history of the country, not the entire story. But this story is slow on updates, so you guys jump the gun and go full fucking story Nazi on him, completely destroying his motivation to write the story. Well, I mean, I can accept if you need to do some, if you need to give some backstory, I can accept that. I've seen stories with much larger backstories than this. But the problem, like, this, so far what's been written, like, a year, these comments were posted a year after the publication of the story, which means that, like, this author had, or almost a year, this author had like an entire year where he could have written more, he could have actually given in addition to the backstory, but all we got was just the backstory. And then the author just kind of abandoned it and didn't write any more. Like, Acoustic Pulse, the only good commie is a dead commie. Solar Follow. Why so many downvotes? Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's supposed to be. It's a parody of the Yugoslav Civil War, which was very ridiculous, the Ukrainian Civil War, and the post-Soviet chaos with ponies added for seasoning. It's real-world history viewed through a funhouse mirror. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And, I mean, just like what Diceman had said, you can make a fic about you can make a fic about any topic. Yeah, like Diceman had said, you could make any story, take any concept at all, including this, but you have to actually make it good. Don't half-ass it. Don't make an actual story about it. Don't just like upload a bunch of backstory and then don't do anything with it. In December of 2018, Russian bank teller, the author, described the story as a pretty bad thing I wrote a year ago, in response to some comment in Russian. I can take a look at it and see. Oh, the Russian commenter replied, I can take a look at it and see if there's anything left to salvage. Kalash 93. I wonder if he found anything to salvage. Oh, he's not actually a Russian. I'm a 25-year-old Uber driver in America. I graduated with a BA in Russian language. Okay. Did he actually find anything to salvage? Like, did he take... Did he do something with it, or... I don't know, like, I'm looking at his... his list of stories, and all I just see are, like, fanfics and shit. Wow, this man's prolific. But I guess even like a professional even like an expert fanfic writer couldn't fucking salvage this. I mean, fanfics, like, you could just throw out any random premise. Any random premise at all. And as long as you have, like, decent quality porn, people will upvote it to high hell. Don't mind me, I'm just... doing a bit of stuff. I'm probably going to edit this out of the final video because it's boring. I'm just taking some screenshots here. Don't mind me, I'm just doing a bit of stuff. I'm probably going to edit this out of the final video because it's boring. I'm just taking some screenshots here.
We made it. My private wilderness retreat. Just in time. Just in time for the chaos. That's how it's done, boys. Get out of the cities. Lapping the ocean waves, lapping at the shore. Isn't this peaceful? I'm in control. At any given moment, I can do this to you. Okay? Doesn't matter. Damn. You can get places with your rational faculties. You can get places by examining evidence and by using your brain to pierce through propaganda. You can get places with that. You can't get that far. You can't get that far. If you want to get really far, if you want to get to the top, if you want to get to the end zone, if you want to get to the goal, if you want to get to a place of love for all, imagine no religion. Imagine there's no borders. Imagine there's no way to protect your property. Imagine you don't have property. Imagine private property is abolished. Imagine you rely on the state for grain. Imagine a beautiful world like that. Imagine you line up for bags of rice and bread and you can't protect yourself. You can't own land. You can't own anything. The state can put a gun to your head for no reason. Imagine, even though guns are abolished, you have to have guns to enforce the abolishment of guns. It's complicated. But imagine that. If you want to get there, you need something more powerful than reason. What you need is a beautiful, tight pussy. You need rosy cheeks with lots of makeup and beautiful puckered lips with red lipstick that look like a pussy. You have to make your mouth, paint it red to be suggestive of a vagina that is fertile. And you have to paint your cheeks red to be suggestive of buttocks. And you have to make your face into a fuckhole and be a beautiful female. You use your vagina, you withhold your ovaries, you use your ovaries, you hold them hostage. That is how you save the world. And that's why I thank a white lady today. And that's why you need to thank a white lady today. Oh, check out that chemtrail up there. You focus up on that. I'll turn the knob towards me so it focuses on infinity.
They know we're out here red pilling.
Yeah. They know we're out here delivering this message right now. The corporations that want us divided, they know we're unifying right now. Fuck your corporations! Now is probably a really bad time to be making extremist type jokes. I have, as you might imagine, had fans hit me up with messages trying to be as funny as possible. What if we did X, Y, and Z at a federal government building and we had ammonium nitrate and chloride gas? Now is a super bad time to be doing anything like that. If you are on the right, you have to know that these protests are victory dances. This has nothing to do with fighting the power or anything like that. This is a display of force, a victory celebration for the left. You go interrupt them at your own peril.